or how you select the most appropriate one for the project at hand, which we actually recognize it as a big challenge in the content of software engineering. I'll talk about our argument regarding the software development methodologies. Then we'll talk a little bit about the saying that there is no one size that can fit all, whereas a lot of other methodologies claim that they can have their methodology to be flexible enough to be taught to suit many projects. And we'll talk about our proposal, how we actually guide or how we assist people in creating their own methodology. And we're using the method engineering and open process framework. And then we'll show a bit of result of this project. We always argue that every software development team, if they really need to look for a good result or reliable product at the end, they need to follow a guide, framework, or method, process, methodology, whatever we call it. The main thing is that they need some sort of guidelines to assist them through every cycle of the software development to end up with producing some reliable and competent software components. Then why is it important? Because following a methodology or a method that can provide the team with a collection of rules and guidelines, as I said, to assist them from one step to the other, the full description of all their deliverable, then they know the specs of the artifact that they achieve at the end, a set of techniques and tools to help them performing their tasks and activities to produce the outcomes, a set of appropriate metrics to measure the quality of their products, and testing guidelines for project management. It actually looked after the whole entire process of developing software. And that's why we stress the emphasis on following a suitable one. Then we do have a problem, which I call it a challenge, not really a problem, that we believe that there is no one size of methodology that can accommodate every type of project. Then what's the solutions? Can we adopt one of the existing ones, or we create our own? I mean, you still have a bit of challenges either way, which way you go, because if you want to adopt one, you need to acquire some skills on how to assess all the existing ones, especially during the last 5 or 6 years. We've been hit with a lot of methodologies, and they brand them with something like heavyweight, lightweight, agile, and all those sort of methodologies. And you need some sort of experience or some sort of resources to be able to pick up the right one. Or you want to make your own, create one that can suit your project the best. But again, you face with a bit of a challenge on how you actually make your own methodology. And that's the area where we actually able to help people on creating their own methodology. And we've been doing this work since 1998. Then we software projects are very different. Then again, we don't believe that one methodology can suit more than one project. Then what the solution? We propose to the software community an approach, an easy approach to look at the situation, to look at the project at hand, whether at a single project or at the level of the organization that creating a methodology that can be tailored and instantiated at the project level as well. Then we create the method at different levels. With some research projects, we create one at a very high level at the organization where they use it as a mainframe or a framework that they can make instance of that framework to suit every project. And the idea behind that when they make the instance, they can tailor it or customize it to suit the project. Then at the organization level, there's a lot of commonalities among all their methods, but for each particular project, they might have a different version. Then we say make your own with care. We don't want to go too heavy or too light. We need to make the process that we don't need. A lot of the already made processes or methods, they claim to be the silver bullet for any problems. Most of the time, we will use probably half of what they offer them from the whole package. We've seen some processes or some methods, they not even use 10% of them. They pick up whatever is applicable to them and they leave the rest of the method. Then to achieve this, we've done so much work. In 1999, we were involved through the University of Technology with Thomson Publishing, and we helped them to make their own project, but they were going to provide all their products online to compete with other competitors. And in 2002, we got involved in Sydney Water Department of the New South Wales government in Sydney again, to move all their services to be online, and they were re-engineering a lot of their software. For 1.5 years, we helped them to move across and change all their applications to be online. In 2003, we got involved with another private software development company for a private sector of the freight forwarding in Australia, and we helped them again to start moving to the e-transformation to transfer all their overseas and Australian market to be web services than just application. Then in 2005, we got involved with another organization in China, NetTrade, where they were going through a lot of business channels and agencies and all that. Then they decided to go 100% e-business and do everything over the net. Then in 2007, we got involved with the Queensland Rail of Queensland State of Australia, and they were having a big problem as a matter of the integration of their old software like Primavera and the SAP. They had to re-enter and do all the same thing twice or 3 times with all the associated problems. Then we got involved to help them to build a set of applications as a portal for them to integrate all their applications together. And that's what we're involved as well, creating a new team of their IT department. And we created that they were using a heavy process that they couldn't work with their project. Then we had to come along and help them for 1.5 years to create their own methodology. And they call it the Q-Rail method. Then in 2010, actually in 2009, we got involved again in another project, which is the member zone, and that's creating a social network as well as a special application for the Communist Party of South Africa. And this project is about 1.5 years, and we expect to finish it with another year. But that's involved actually creating the enterprise application, not only helping them to create the method, but we help them and we actually manage the project at the same time. Then what we propose to the IT organization in terms of software development method, that the adoption of the method engineering approach. And the method engineering approach simply is a rational approach to construct a method from a method fragments or method chunks or process components. Different people call it different things. There is a sort of repository with a lot of components, and we go and study those components and start picking up the right one or the appropriate one for the project and make our method. It defines as a creation of method specifically tuned to the situation. That's why people call it the situation method engineering, and people call it just method engineering. Then, as you can see from here, we have the approach, but to use the approach, you need another framework where it keeps all the repository of those components that you need to pick from. Then we selected one of the really oldest process framework called the Open Process Framework, and that's the main work being done by Brian Henderson-Sears and a few people from the University of Technology. And they created a lot of components in terms of activities, tasks, and techniques. Then you go and check the actual product that you need to produce. Then you can look at the sort of activity they recommend, and for each activity, they break it down by number of tasks, and then they give you a suggestion or recommendation for all the tools that you can use to perform a specific task. This diagram shows actually the whole structure of the Open Process Framework using the method engineering approach. As you can see from the top, we have all the method components, and then the methodologist can make a methodology, and then they make instance of that particular methodology to be used at the project level. The organization we have been working with, as I said, is a small to medium IT solution provider in Australia. Is deeply involved in R&D with the Australian government, and now we're involved in developing an enterprise system for the South African Communist Party and other financial systems. For this project, we end up, because of the nature of the software project itself, we had to create a light, agile version of what we call it the heavy weight before, but for this project, because it's moving from a desktop, re-engineering all the existing application to be online, then we had to start with a very small version, and then we iterate and increment on the same version to add more to it during the life of the process. Then we created the method only with a few tasks to start with, and as long as people got actually used to it, we start adding more to it, because the biggest challenge we always face when we come to this sort of project is the people resistance to change. People always refuse new ways of doing their own work. Then we try to overcome that by introducing the new method in small increments, and we keep adding to it, and that's we notice that actually enhance degree of accessibility and usability by the people. Thank you. Just in time. Sorry.
You talked about the open process
framework.
What exactly do you mean by the process? By the process, do you mean the software development process or something else? Can you give an example?
Sure. Actually, the open process is not a process by itself. As I think I've said here in one of the slides, the open process, as you can see, is a platform-rich process framework and not a process or a method by itself. You cannot use the open process. Open process is a repository of a lot of components, a lot of method chunks. Then you go and look at, it depends on your project, and you look at all those bits and pieces of the process, which they come in sort of producers, product, and work units. And they all in terms of activities, and then they decompose it down to a number of tasks, and for each task you have a recommended set of tools to perform those tasks. Then you look at the process is really huge. It's like a mechanical set. You pick up the pieces you want, and then you make your own model out of that. But open itself cannot be used as a method. Does that cover the question?
Please provide an example of what have you done. One project, you have the project, and then you said, okay, I take this part of methodology from this methodology, I take this.
No, we don't pick up from different methodology.
Okay.
No, we pick up from a framework, from a repository.
Okay, so your repository is made of?
Like one of the activities, for example, under the open process is requirement engineering. That's a big activity. Then within that activity, the open process will say, this can be decomposed to those number of tasks, like elicit requirements, analyze requirements, model requirements. For each one of those, it will say, this is the recommended techniques and tools that you can use to achieve this, and what deliverable out of this that you expect, and how you measure the quality of those deliverables at the end, like in terms of metrics and the testing. Then it will give you all those techniques. It will give you the activity, break it down by number of tasks, and for each task, it will give you a set of tools and techniques. How we work those together, as you've seen from the our engineered method for that project, that we starting with the initiation, we have 3 stages, and through the open process framework, it doesn't give you that high level of stages. Within each one, it will tell you that project planning is a big activity under the open process framework. Then you can drill down on the project planning and you see all the tasks that the open provides. You might only need half of them or only 2 tasks. It depends on the project. Not for every project you do the full cycle of project planning. All right? If it's a small project, then you might need to do 1 or 2 tasks only. And that's the tailorability or the customization that we have with your own method. You're not really binded by what the method tells you how to do it. It's actually, you make it the way you work with it, not like you don't change yourself to suit the actual method.
So let's say that we have a large project and we want to go to develop it and to create it in a very formalized way. So let's say that you are a company that uses a regional unified process and we have a lot of documents and a lot of rules and everything. And let's say that we have the same project that is achieved by a smaller company that says, okay, I can do this in an agile way. I can create a step by step by selecting, I don't know, methodology or an agile process that says, I do not need all these documents. I just want to do the software in
like what you're saying, you get the process and you skim it down to suit what you want.
Okay, so let's say that we have these two basic methodologies,
Yes.
Regional unified process and agile methodology. Do you select? You said that you do not mix.
No, we don't mix between the.
So if you would advise that company that uses the regional unified process, you will say, okay, you can not do this task maybe to get the software quicker to the market, or you select the tasks from within the methodology that you can do, or you cannot. You are not really mandatory to do them. This is what this
No, not really. It's what you're talking about is more consulting than method engineering. What we do actually, we create a method. It's not
for that
national.
Project.
Yeah, it's for the organization and then can be tailored at the project level. If you are actually have your set of requirements redefined, well defined, and it's a really big project, and you see that RAP is the best one that can help you, that's perfect. You don't need that service we provide. Mm-hmm. And if you are very light and you can use an ad hoc process, or I wouldn't call it Agile, because Agile is not just the opposite side of the heavyweight. No, Agile can be very heavyweight as well. But if you can use it with a very ad hoc method, that's fine, okay? But we're talking about the organization that they look at something like, say, levels, and they need to improve themselves from one level to the other. The first organization we worked with actually had to assess themselves in the scale of CMM, and their aim was to achieve level 3. They were assessed at level 1. Then to achieve level 3, they have to follow some sort of repeatable process and documentation and all, not in a heavyweight, but in a lighter version. We help them of making their own. They call it like the Thompson method. It's not REP, it's not Agile, it's not Crystal, none of the existing ones, because each one we looked at, they must take some of the process and leave the other, or they must add some more that suits their project in particular. Then we help them of creating their own from them, especially that the open process framework and the methods engineering, they all actually for free. You don't pay for anything. Okay? But we've seen a lot of organizations through all these years of working with the methods engineering that people like Sydney Water spent more than $5 million in their process and it's never been used. Never. There was a strong resistance from people to follow their process. Because they bought one, they actually inherited from another part of the government, and they were forced to use it. But people didn't use it at all, and they start seeing the result. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have now one more question, then we have to carry on with the next paper. No more questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to double check before we carry on. Has the third speaker making the first move towards open source software development by AI? Not. And the last speaker, the construction of a new lexicon design.